welcome to It's Just That Simple, where we make the complicated simple. On today's episode, we were talking about being and find out. Be and find out. It's basically like fuck around and find out. How are we allowing ourselves to be and find out? To breathe and figure things out as they come. A couple days ago, I think it was like two days ago, as I was, of course, always having beautiful conversations with the people I love, Faith and Sam in particular, of this conversation. And I mentioned the people in this podcast, the people, the partners, the loves of my life, and to everything that I do, because I see them, recognize them, and honor them. So when I look back and I listen, or if you listen, you get a sense of how someone can make and weave your life, even in the details that you don't really see yet, but they're monumental. And how they allowed and loved themselves into that moment, and how you loved yourself in that moment. And it's just a conversation to appreciate conversation more, appreciate connection more, and appreciate how we're loving together, growing together, and healing together. So I highlight Faith and Sam in this episode of this beautiful conversation that allowed me to have this conversation with you. And as I was sitting down to wind it in for you, or what that conversation, after that conversation I had, of the multiple conversations I had, and after the conversation I had with myself, and that's what I'm trying to express now, the conversation I had with myself based off those conversations. So let me paint a little picture for you. So I was sitting on the oriental rug that my booty is sitting on right now. I was feeling, I was moving, I was understanding my emotions, but something came over me. Something has been coming over me for the past couple days, the past previous days, almost like 3 or 4. The idea that something was just, oh my God, why do I not feel so resonated in my skin? I've been loving myself. I feel the most love that I ever felt of myself and for others. I feel so played and safe and excited for existing. And I haven't felt like that thus far at that point. And I was just feeling just all turbulent. But it wasn't like it was kind of just in a sense, it was like, if you don't focus on it, it doesn't need to happen. If I don't focus on it, it doesn't need to be a conversation with myself. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm so happy right now. How am I not feeling happy? And then I was just sitting, and I was just almost slightly in the fetal position, just holding myself, not in anxiety, but just full observation, because I was going to turn away from it. And I was like, no, this is an opportunity to love myself. This is an opportunity to love the parts that I feel can't be looked at because it doesn't feel comfortable. Feels already figured outable. Feels like, oh, if I just let it be, it will go away. But I wanted to honor myself, as I usually always do, but honor myself again, because it's a choice to see how I was feeling. Honor that part, because I was like, you need to be loved more. That version of myself, I must love you more. Embrace you more. So I was sitting there, and I was just like, wait. How do I feel? I said, I feel frightened. I was like, what? Frightened? I was like, okay. Frightened because of what? I was frightened because I wasn't frightened. I was afraid that I wasn't afraid. I have placed myself, created a space for myself, a version of myself, a loving embrace of what my love looks like in this moment thus far in my lifetime. And I did not know how to fully find this sense of relaxation. Older versions of myself couldn't fathom, comprehend why I feel so peaceful when old versions of myself felt so turbulent and couldn't even understand how I could survive in this moment. Feel so at ease in my moments, feel so at ease in the season of my life. I was feeling more and more and more just, wow. Okay, it was like, at least I got peace. At least the thing is saying that I have peace. I am peaceful overall. Right now, in this moment, I am allowing myself to be at peace. But okay, let's talk about this frightened thing. Why am I so frightened, old version of me? Why are you so scared? It's because for the longest time, I grappled with, because I didn't introduce or integrate love of myself, so I didn't understand what that was to begin with, so it can't comprehend me now. So I had to integrate it, talk to it, lead it into this idea of me slowly. It was like, well, so talking, having a good conversation, going down each list, and then the words came up of saying that I don't feel successful, old version said. And I was like, successful? But even when I said it, I just laughed and scoffed. I was just like, do you realize that as you love yourself, as I am loving myself, my way, that word does not serve me? And I talked to that version of myself. I said, for all of your life, you chase the idea of success because it's been so melted down in your being, your brain, your nervous system, your identity, to think that that's where your worth, your value comes from. And if you don't chase it, if you don't integrate with it, if you don't melt with it, if you don't encompass it so fully, there's something wrong with you. And as we all know, there's nothing wrong with us. We have to accept that. There's nothing wrong with our worth. We have to accept that. Our worth is still, doesn't go up, doesn't go down. Has a beautiful equilibrium of perfection. And it understands that. Even as we're learning, it understands that. And so I was just like, wait, that does not fit me. I only take what serves me, and the word success doesn't serve me. It's not for me. It's for an idea of capitalism. It's for the idea of conforming. It's for the idea of survival. It's for the idea of feeling that there is not enough and there will never be enough. And I have remembered days, moments, and times where I have loved myself over and over and over and over again to know that there is enough, and there is always enough. The idea of scarcity, the idea of if you don't have a plan, be scared. I had to learn that no plan is a plan. And as we all understood that unsystematically is real, is acknowledged, that love is unsystematic. And I say this to bring back from old podcasts or old episodes is because I'm telling a story, a bigger story. We would go in and out, back and forth, contradict and not contradict, and just blossom over time. As my rug is called Blossom, that I'm sitting my beautiful perky ass on. As its name, blossoming. So we're blossoming together. Blossoming together. For each other, for ourselves. Because it's a bigger picture that we're all saying. And we're just riding each other home. So as I understood where success was crippling my older versions I was just like, wait, no, 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 no. How you love yourself now. How you have learned that love leads you. Loving yourself is unsystematic. Loving yourself is no right path. It is just loving yourself and following your heartbeat. The heartbeat to the beat of the drum. You feel it getting louder, banging louder, banging louder, getting stronger, saying that I am here. And you hear it, people feel it, and you move in it. You move with it, dance with it. And sometimes you don't know the next move, but your heart, your love will lead you and guide you to the next step. A beautiful dancing partner that we have, if we choose to dance with it, not flow against it. And then I saw this post on Instagram that I sent to one of my friends, Nick, because he lives in Tennessee, and the person in the post was in Tennessee, beautiful being. And I was this person was, it's in this park. And I had this beautiful labyrinth that was in this middle that he had a question. It was a question that I can't recall what it was, but I think it was a question of self-discovery. A question of contemplation, a proportion of who he is within the scale of life. So he basically said, oop, okay. And basically the kind of little lore around this labyrinth is saying if you have a question, and by the end of the time that you finish the spiral of this labyrinth, the question will be revealed. The answer will be given to you, told, listened to. And so he was doing it, and he was going through this labyrinth, going through the circles, stepping step by step, stone by stone. And then his glance looked at the smaller tree, and then looked at to this bigger tree that was right next to it. And he was just like, wait, I get it. I get it. I may not understand my DNA, my makeup, my being, but if I see me properly, I know that all that I am and all that I will be is coexisting in me right at this moment. It is coexisting in you right in this moment. That he didn't have to think, or that tree didn't have to think about being a tree. Didn't have to think about how tall it was going to get, if it's going to be that tree. No, it is that tree, so it is growing. It is that thing, so it doesn't have to fear for not being what it already is. What it was already made to be. It's like that question that I was thinking to myself before I recorded this, where it was like the song just kept on playing in my head. It was like, of the Billie Eilish song from Barbie. It was like, what was I made for? What was I made for? Do-do-do. And I was just like, oh, wow. Are we all made to tell Barbies? Understanding what we were made for. Understanding what am I made for? Because as we discover more versions of ourselves, we're just like, what the hell? I just figured myself out. How can I not understand what's next? How can I not feel as comfortable with myself now? What is this? I'm done and exhausted, or I'm excited. I'm learning to let go of the feeling of resistance of me figuring out myself, seeing myself, because it's not about figuring it out. The tree doesn't have to figure out that it's a tree. It just exists, and it will see over time. How do you see who you are and let yourself become and blossom over time? Our lives has these beautiful ways of storytelling. Our ways of being that sometimes we see it, and that's why we always have this hindsight. It's just like when I look back, everything makes sense. But in that moment, it's just, I don't know. But how can we appreciate that it makes sense right now? or it doesn't make sense right now, and I'm going to find out. Not obsessing, not trying to be perfect, but we understand it. We understand it enough that we do not quiver nor tremble in our present moment. And that brings me back to when I was sitting on my beautiful carpet and I was just like, guess what? Because I was understanding, there was like leveraging with or having this beautiful conversation with I think leveraging is the word, with my old versions of myself. And I was just like, guess what? I don't understand why you can't feel at ease and at peace to make me feel at peace in my present moment, because I just want to feel my peace right now. I want to be at my peace. And it was just like, ooh. But it was like, my old version was like, but there's so many possibilities. Why aren't you not moving to those possibilities? And I was just like, I'm only in this moment. I love myself in this moment. And I see the possibilities. But I'm also in this moment. And I'm excited for the possibilities, but I will never let it take away from my present moment. Because I cannot get to there without being here, without breathing here, without rooting myself here, without sinking my whole entire being in this moment so I can be to the possibilities what I already see myself and know myself as. And that's what I say. That's how I heal. That's how I loved myself, to understanding how I can break apart those feelings, and I had to sit more at rest. And it's an ongoing process of releasing and letting go, of breathing and being okay with not knowing, but understanding your heartbeat, your rhythm, your way, more and more as you love yourself. And it was a little story of myself that I would like to tell you. It was in 2017, 15, doing things. I think 2015, let's start there. Because I did say that the energy from 2015 may happen, from the summer of 2015 may be replicated to learn, to love, to integrate in our now moments in this summer. Tell me if you guys feel resonated with that. And I remember it was times where I got tattoos for past crushes. I see the good on my right arm. I see the symbol of this clothing brand I had called HTS. I drew it myself, and I was like, I don't know. I was looking at different arrows. I wanted something Indian symboled and Native American symboled, and I was just like, okay, this feels very good. But also, I was doing it to impress someone I had a crush on. I said a croissant, a croissant that I had a crush on at the time. And I want to believe that every single thing that I've done was telling me more about myself and telling me more about how I love myself back then, so I don't have to be ashamed of myself. I take it as a kind reminder of saying, you still saw yourself as you were still figuring out yourself, as we all are doing in this now moment. We still see ourselves as we're still figuring out ourselves, so you don't have to be so hyper-focused on if it's right or wrong, or am I doing the most towards the benefit of myself? If you love yourself, you're doing enough. And then I was just sitting back in my room right now, reflecting, because at that period I felt this part needs to be loved a little bit more. And then I started seeing myself some more. I was like, wow. I was hyper-focused on understanding the world, hyper-focused on understanding spirituality. I had this book called A Science of Faith, A Way of Life or something. But it was The Science of Faith or something. Big 700-page, 1,000-page book. I was not a reader at the time. I was not a person that was like, I fell asleep several times on that book, but I finished it. I finished it. Ow. And as I was realizing the different experiences I had, I called onto stars and saw them with my very eyes. I got droplets from the sky, white droplets that absorbed in my right web of my thumb of my hand, and it just absorbed there, and then I could connect with the beings and things of life, and I felt the most healing, just and powerful energies in my hands and my body and my understanding of living. I remember at that time in this moment where being and be and find out became a thing, became a now moment, a timed and beautifully placed thing, beautifully timed and beautifully placed lesson of self to make me feel safer later in my life, loved later in my life, loved in some parts of version of my now present moment of my life. And even then, it was these type of things where I allowed myself to breathe into those moments. And the experience was me and my mom were looking at these different, I just love my mother. Love my mother. Me and my mom were understanding spirituality as ourselves, being co-conspirators of our own growth and love and healing and seeing each other. So when we can reference back to looking at each other, it's like, you were there too. I'm like, isn't that the most beautiful thing to see someone in your life and mention them in your life and say, you were there too. It wasn't just me there, you were there too. So let's back that up a little bit. So as I was understanding and seeing myself, we were understanding spirituality, the understanding of understandings, and seeing like numbers and 555s and the awareness that it's bigger, something's bigger than what I've been told, something's bigger than what I've been formulated, something's bigger than what I have seen, what I have been. We were looking at this YouTube channel with this guy. I can't find him anymore and disappeared in the ether, but he was there for my journey and there probably for all the other people's journeys and also for his. He was saying, well, how I connect with my spirits, my guides, I sit and I place a beautiful violet light over me. I surround myself with white light, but he did it in such a beautiful methodology, or whatever that word is. He was like, so what do you do? So what you do is you take out a piece of paper after you cover yourself in all these beautiful, vibrant, wonderful energies and lights, sense of protection. And you ask without thinking, or you write down without thinking something on paper. And then you just listen, close your eyes and listen for the answer. And so we took heed of that, dispersed, decided to be like, okay. You be downstairs, I'll go upstairs. I was in my room. Or we were in perspective spaces. And I was like, okay. It was slightly like an evening dimly light. I think it was maybe even halfway almost after sunset. Writing it down. I was just like, I'm just not thinking. And what was a big contributor at that time was me thinking, what is my purpose? What was I made for? What was I made for? What was I made for when everyone is telling me what I'm made for, but that doesn't feel right? What was I made for? I'm Barbie. I'm in this little corrupt, fucked up world, but it's not fucked up. It's just what's being told to me is a little bit undesirable. So, me as little beautiful Barbie decided to write, what is my purpose? And at the time I didn't realize why I wasn't as spooked for this next part, but I was just like, it is what it is. I think it was so open, but I didn't realize I wasn't amazed. I would be so amazed now, but then it was just like, okay. Okay. Maybe because I found safety in it. And so as I was finding my purpose, then I heard in my left ear my voice. But at that time, I didn't integrate it as my voice. I said it sounds like me, but it didn't feel like me. And that's a message in itself. that I couldn't comprehend that versions, that feelings of me, because sometimes we have to learn how to let go to accept the new. And so I was just listening. I was just like, how do I find myself? How do I find my purpose? What is my purpose? That was the question. What is my purpose? And it said, it was just laughing. It was a bunch of other giggles that weren't mine. And then it was my voice that was saying, be it. Be. I was like, well, how do I find that? How do I find my purpose? How do I do that? And it was just laughed again. I was like, you just be it. And I was like, okay, obviously hearing me from all understandings of life, no present, no past, no future, is all coinciding at the same time with the love of self. And then I stopped. And tried to formulate what being was. Because at that time, I didn't even fathom what I am, who I am, in what I am, existing as all things and everything, and I couldn't comprehend my makeup, my coding, my DNA, what makes me me, because at the times I didn't want to see that either. Seemed too big, seemed too shiny, too bright. And by being too bright, I think that I had to shine in a way that made myself, firstly, uncomfortable, but was afraid and frightened to make others feel uncomfortable. For others to see me with love and embrace. And as the times that sometimes that we move out through life, we try to place so much pressure onto what makes us who we are right now. And I find out that as we learn to love ourselves, as we see ourselves, as we just blossom in who we are, being and finding out is the only option. Because we shed skin, we get lighter the more that we love ourselves, softer, kinder, warmer, gentler. And as we become gentler, and we have to become compassionate for letting things go. We have to let things go, so it calls for compassion. It calls for being lighter and lighter than air. It brings in to this beautiful ray of life telling us who we are. And I remember listening to that voice of mine telling me, be it. It sounded like someone that has watched the movie and is watching it with you and just in awe of just saying, just find out. You'll find out. You'll see. How can you give yourself that same grace to realize that you already are everything? Absolutely everything you will be, you have been, and that you are. And that you will ever be. In you right now. And you're just in this movie, and you're going to find out. You're going to see it. How can we see it now? I remember I had a dream around that time as well, where I was this beautiful being me. I wasn't really in tune to my dreams at that time. And I was having a dream of me, and it was a beautiful glass windows. I was walking through this hall. I was getting an award for controlling water. And what brought me into the reality of the situation was I looked at this person to my left. It was this wax figure, and I was like, oh, Who are you? It was dressed up like Benjamin Franklin, but it said the creator of the water bottle. Saw its face clearly in this wax figure, but I was getting awarded for controlling water. And I was like, oh. So let me go do 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 do. After I woke up, I was like, well, that was weird. Let me look it up at 12 o'clock in the morning, midnight. The witch's hour. And I was just like, okay. Let me look. Who created the first water bottle? Water bottle. I said bile. Water bottle. Nathaniel Wyeth? Nathaniel Wyeth. Okay, let me look at this up. Okay, I see the picture, just whoo, chills. That was the person I saw in my dream. That was the person I saw in my dream. What about me was already told about me before I can comprehend me? So what about you? Do you know about you, but before you could even comprehend you? Life is more than what we choose to pay attention to. We remember from the last episode about what we choose to highlight. What are you choosing not to see, and what are you actually seeing about you, your makeup, your creation of life? Life is bigger than what we can comprehend, and we are bigger than what we can comprehend. We are brighter than what we can comprehend. We are more monumental and magnificent and remarkable than what we can ever comprehend. But how can we enjoy that suggestion right now? How can we be a little bit more lenient to our possibilities? Lenient to who we actually are in this moment? Not so focused on the next, but focused on who we are, and that knowing that who we are is what's going to be next, and there's no need to look further. Just to be present. So, what is it? How can you? How can you see you where you can just be and find out? Be and be present. So you can now just have fun, love, laugh, or just make this moment a little bit lighter for you. More caressed in your love for you. More implanted into this lifetime for you. And I love you. I see you. I witness you. And all I ask of you, so I can see more of you, is to be you. Until next time.